All right, welcome back to Weekly Recap. This is our weekly recap for week 3, going into week 4. This week, we have both me, Ian, will be hosting, and as well as my normal co-host, Justin, coach of
Hello,
the
everyone.
Los Angeles Chargebugs. And let's hop right into it. We got a lot to cover this week.
Absolutely.
Um, So let's go right into the schedule, or from week 3, where we get to see Chris take the game over Vincent, David win over Roman by forfeit, Alex beat Ethan, Caden beat Josh, Jacob beat Zach, me beat Hunter, Justin beat Titus, and Kyler beat Aiden. So, Justin, any
Yeah.
of
Yes.
these that you feel that we should go over this week? There's a lot to go over. This was a pretty deep week in terms of what was going
hmm
on.
hmm
Um, Anything in particular you think was a interesting enough fight to delve into?
Absolutely. And before I delve too far into it, I do want to point out, outside of the Hunter versus Vincent versus Chris fight, none of these were really close. We started to see a lot of games being heavily decided and having huge impacts on the standings, which we will look on later in the show. Um, but for
Absolutely.
my
This was a huge swing week for a lot of teams
yes.
and, big decisive victories. So
hmm
this will have a big impact on the end of the season, no matter pretty much whatever team you were. So it was a
Absolutely.
it was a huge week. I think the
And
game, or well, you were saying something, Joseph?
so I just want to go ahead and jump into. I just wanted to jump straight into my game that I wanted to cover from this last week. The Driftful Rangers going into town and taking on the Milwaukee Milk Tanks. Coach Caden defeating Coach Josh in this matchup. A few things that are quite obvious when you look at this. Shades of the last championship game, where Coach Caden, of course, crumbled under the pressure of a Clefable, where uh,
Yeah,
Coach David was able
the
to
cosmic
masterfully pick him apart.
the cosmic power Clefable that David brought in season 2 finals,
Mm-hmm.
coming back here to face him again with Josh, and Justin. I think Coach Caden handled himself well in this scenario. Anything else that was?
I do want to say his team performed very well. That's what I will say. He definitely had some players show up and want to prove that Clefable will not be able to stop them. Because as we all know, Coach Caden was uh, through disgracefully, unapologetically forfeited in the championship game against this Clefable, completely embarrassing himself and his organization. And his players made sure that they weren't going to suffer the same fate. And speaking of the players, I do want to point out Urshifu Rapid Strike, who is proving himself not only to be the better of the Urshifu Mons, which is shocking to most, proving himself that he's in serious MVP conversation.
Yeah, he has been coming with it this season and absolutely
Mm-hmm.
destroying teams that haven't been ready. Being one of the more premier Terra captains in the league, uh, Coach Caden really landed himself a very solid pick with that one. And
Absolutely.
speaking of Coach Caden, we have an interview that we had to do right after the game of Coach Caden.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what he has to say. All right, so here we're straight off the field right after the game, and we have a few questions for the winner of our week 3 game versus Caden versus Josh. And what does Caden got to say after this game? How does it feel to be undefeated after 3 games this season?
Well, I just want to say thanks so much for having me on, guys. Appreciate you taking the time right after my game to do this. But I think we both played pretty well. You know, it's not a free game. You got to prep. Did a lot of time, and it paid off. Josh is a great opponent, and I'm just glad it went my way. Because you play the game a few more times back, it's probably not going to be the same way. So I'm glad I got the victory this time. But I'm sure I'll be seeing him again soon. But was looking forward to next week and always moving forward, you know.
Deja vu was a big question coming into this game, Coach Caden. As we all know, people who've been following this league, you were absolutely embarrassed, dismantled, completely blown to bits by a Clefable Toxic Stall in the finals just a season ago. And so everyone was looking at that Clefable game. What did you have to do to prepare your guys to go up against that situation so it turns out differently for you?
You know, it was a familiar sight. You know, I see Clefable press Cosmic Power, and immediately the heart rate just goes straight up. You know, my guys are sweating, I'm sweating, but we prepared for this. I'm not the same player I was before. I've come a long way. I think that I proved myself in that regard. We just prepared better. We looked better. We played better. And I think that's all we could do. And as we go on to next season and next game, we're always looking forward. We will make sure it's not going to happen again, and just hopefully we'll make plays like that. Preparation, same way.
All right. Well, that's all we got for Caden this week, and hope to see you do good in the future, and good luck in the next few weeks.
Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Of course, can't wait to see y'all.
All right. Thank you, Coach Caden, for the interview, and let's move on to our next match of the week, and I'd like to introduce Vincent versus Chris. The Federal Feraligators versus the Orlando Magikarp. And
what a game.
Boy, Justin, this was a good game.
Down to the wire.
Down to the wire. We came down to a 1-mon on both teams, and wow, that Rillaboom in this game was doing work.
Game changer.
Absolutely.
Game changer.
Also, we got to see a fan favorite and crowd favorite, Goober.
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 Legendary. Making the Pokemon Draft League Twitter go ablaze. An absolute legend in the community, and
Absolutely.
love to see him tie up the sneakers and get out on the court.
Absolutely, he's been doing quite well this season. Though he's not the main story of the of this game, I have to say it's gotta go to the MVP of the game for sure, Rillaboom. Absolutely picking up kills all season, really, but 3 in this game. All right, so Justin, after that match, let's go ahead and look at our MVP race and how it shakes out after week 3.
Looks a lot different than it did last week.
Absolutely. Hawlucha taking the top spot. I don't think anybody was expecting that this season.
Listen, a lot of people are saying that Hawlucha's coming out of the blue. I always thought that he could be a fantastic player. I saw the potential in him. And now he's just showing it. He's just showing what he can do when he has the spotlight. And when he has the opportunity, he can fully sweep an entire team. All right? It doesn't matter if he has 4, 3, 2, 1% left. He's going to get the job done. He's going to win his team, his game, put him on his back, okay? This was a legacy-defining run by Hawlucha, and it's the first sweep and maybe the only single-mon sweep we'll see all season.
Well, it's a little early to declare it might be the only one, Justin, but...
I'm declaring it.
It might be a bit early, but it is a good sign in the future for Hawlucha. However, I am slightly concerned. He's only come to 2 games. He may not be a constant mainstay of Jacob's team, so I'm hoping to see more from him this season, but you never know. Playing time this season, it's quite squashed on his team too, so it's tight to get those minutes on Jacob's team. Speaking of other MVP candidates, Justin, we just talked about him, but Urshifu Rapid Strike.
Absolutely, just once again, don't have enough nice things to say about Urshifu Rapid Strike. I said earlier in the season he's playing with the chip on his shoulder, constantly being compared to Urshifu Single Strike. And so he's coming out to prove that he can win anywhere he plays, even under a team coached by Coach Caden.
Absolutely. And there's another Mon who snuck his way up into the top 10 that wasn't there previously. Chien Pao coming out of the woodwork from nowhere and really taking 4 kills this week and still being one of the only unkilled Pokemon in the top 10.
Yeah. I mean, Chien Pao, everyone knew the capability that he had. And now he's just, after doubters in the first couple weeks were swooping in to try to bash him, he's proved that why he's such a high-valued asset in this league. And I believe he's now...
he's the number one plus-minus Pokemon of all time in this league through all 4 seasons, or at least tied for it with Dragonite. And also
undeniably will beat it.
And will likely, with any creep at all this season, will take that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And they are by far the top at 18 apiece. And with the next lowest being the next highest being Hisuian Gudra at 13. So
wow.
There's quite a jump there, and I don't really see another Mon taking that spot for at least a good while, especially since it took Chien Pao 3 seasons to dethrone Dragonite himself, and that's consistency right there, though.
Absolutely.
So, any other Mon you'd like to point out there, Justin?
I mean, I guess quick shout out to Hydreigon, a Terra Captain for Coach Alex's Colorado Avalugg. 4-0 right now, just showing up in 2 games. That's a dangerous Terra Captain right there, and I've talked to Coach Alex, and he definitely wants Hydreigon to get more playing time and become a more important piece in this offense.
Absolutely, it definitely needs to be. It's been showing up every week. And speaking of Coach Alex, he has another 4-kill Mon that I'd like to bring up really quick. Necrozma, hitting 4 kills and 1 death, most of them in its last game, where it was an absolute force, picking up multiple kills and mostly doing it through a more stall-focused set. So that was a very impressive showing, and I hope to see more diverse Necrozma move pool throughout the season. So
absolutely.
So yeah, we'll go ahead and we will move on to our next section, which will be a long one this week. We'll be going through transactions. This is potentially the deepest week for transactions since week 1. Well, not potentially, it just is, where we had a total of nearly 18 transactions, almost 20. So bear with us, it'll take a second. So we'll start with, actually, our very own Los Angeles Chargebugs transactions. Justin, picking up Zygarde 50, dropping Zygarde 10, dropping Torterra, adding Smeargle, or swapping Peruglia's Terra Captain to Tentacruel. So, Coach Justin, what do you got to say? What do you have for us? What are these about?
Let me just tell you, my team, we want to win. Okay, these players are just putting their heart and soul into every single match, every single practice behind the scenes. I mean, they don't need the cameras to be on. They don't need the lights to be bright to put in the hard work. Okay, and because of that, I just felt like Zygarde 50 fit perfectly into this culture. He's bulky. He's got a ton of useful status moves. Dragon types are, very, very valuable. And it's not something that I'm going to take lightly to just making sure that I can get the most out of my players. And I feel like the transactions that the front office made today is going to put us in a better position to win. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely. I personally really like these transactions. I like to see the power of Zygarde 50 over Zygarde 10%. Grabbing 40% extra Zygarde, and, that 1,000 arrows is really going to do a toll to this league. There's a lot of Pokemon that are either electric flying or Steel Flying, that'll do now super effective damage to it. They can't switch it on to ground type moves, making this one of the more dangerous ground types in the league as well. And, I think this is just a straight upgrade for this team, and I'm excited to see what the Los Angeles Charge Bugs can do with it. Now, we have a lot more to go through here. We'll start out, we'll go right into Alex made a very quick transaction. We'll go through this pretty quick. Alex swapped Terra Captains from Entei to Kilowattrel. Nothing to see here, really. Kilowattrel's not too useful without Terra. Entei can somewhat function without it. So I think this is a good move.
Absolutely.
Good, quick move.
Net positive transaction.
Yeah, now I think we have the news of the week here.
Well, let me tell you, my phone was blowing up from texts from coaches across the league, from friends and families and other fans, asking me, "Is this trade real? Did they really just do this?"
Yeah, so I guess we'll just hop right into it. We had a team trade between Hunter and Vincent, so the Planet of the Annihilates and the Federal Feraligators, involving two pretty prominent players in the league, Zapdos and Excadrill. Justin, what's going on here? What happened?
Hey, look, I think Excadrill is he's a beloved veteran in this league. Everyone knows his utility and his just how useful he could be in tying a team together. He might not always get you the most kills, but he'll always play an important role and a good provide a solid spot on your team. And I guess Coach Vincent just didn't see
Didn't see the vision, I suppose.
did not see the vision, and didn't see the numbers. The fraud alert went off, and he sent him packing.
Yeah, this trade somewhat baffles me. Hunter made out like a bandit, I think. He gets himself a amazing Sand Force or Sand Rush user, but probably the best in the league, honestly. A Rapid Spinner, additional hazards, a phenomenal Steel type that his team was lacking, and really turns his team into a very powerful Sand team. And Hunter gets Zapdos, which is a very strong mon, don't get me wrong, but he loses the access to not only Stealth Rocks for one of his rockers, which his team was quite adept at. He also loses access to Rapid Spin. So now his hazard game weakens quite significantly.
Yeah.
So
Perhaps on a team of Archaludon and Hazuim Gudra, and maybe he just thought there was one too many Steel types. But I don't know. I think Excadrill can work on any team.
I think Excadrill is I think Excadrill would be just fine. I'm a little worried about Zapdos, but I hope to see both of these teams cook with it.
Of course.
But
Shocked. It's a shocking trade.
shocking trade, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it. Not one that I would have participated in. Let me put it that way. However, we have more moves from actually both of these teams. We'll start with Hunter, who drops Politoed, adds Houndstone, drops Seismitoad, adds Klefki, and adds Garbodor. This is just a pivot to Sand, Justin. There's nothing much to say about this. He's finally cutting the Rain part of his team out, and moving to full Sand, which I think is a strong move for them, and hopefully we see more of that kind of thing in the future.
I think there was a bit of some question marks raised about this team because it seemed to be 1 foot in water and rain, 1 foot in the sand, and it just didn't mix, and the House of Cards collapsed, and I think this puts them in a better position.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Vincent here. I know I'm skipping over a couple here, but it works a little bit better here, where he has dropped Lantern, added Hisuian Zoroark, dropped Lucario, added Incineroar, dropped Feraligatr, added Hisuian Decidueye, and then dropped Slacking. This is a decent pivot, honestly. It kind of takes away some of the Rain identity of this team, but overall, I think it will, make this team slightly better.
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was when he dropped Lantern for Hisuian Zoroark. I said, Hisuian Zoroark is still on the board? That's a very, very versatile, impactful Pokemon that was just sitting there for anyone to take, and he saw him, saw the talent, saw the vision, and picked him up.
Absolutely. And speaking of why that happened and why Hisuian Zoroark was on the board, we'll get to Kyler's transactions. Where he drops Terrakion, adds Hisuian Lilligant, and drops Hisuian Zoroark and adds Galarian Slowbro. Justin, Hisuian Zoroark just came from was 4-1 this season and dropped immediately.
It's a question mark for sure. You hate to judge the decisions of coaches. Obviously, they know their teams better than we do, but hard to argue with the talent and sheer power of Hisuian Zoroark.
Yeah, I mean, it's done well for him in the past, and I think that it's a little. It's probably very sad for him to see it go, but hopefully it's for the best. And Kyler has a good history of doing well in these leagues, so I believe that he knows what he's doing. So I'm sure it'll work out for him. Let's go right back into. There's still more transactions where we have our former champ making 4 moves this week. David, coach of the Dallas Steel Wings, dropping Diancie, adding Slowbro, dropping Mantine, adding Magneton, dropping Doublade and adding Togetic, and finally dropping Raichu and adding Alolan Persian. What do you think about this one, Justin?
Let me tell you, first of all, it's like clockwork at this point. I saw the memes being posted on Twitter before the decision was made to overhaul this roster a little bit. Not as dramatic changes as we've seen in previous seasons, but still, Coach David recognizing that something isn't working, decisions have to be made, and decisions were made. I think I agree with most of these. The one that I hesitate on is I'm a big Mantine believer. I think that's a very talented Pokemon, but I think for his strategy, it makes sense.
I really like what he did with him. Even if I am a huge Mantine believer, I don't believe this is the team for it. I think he needs some more support. And Slowbro, I'm excited to see what Slowbro can do. The Slow Pivot Teleport Regenerator is right up my alley personally, and I'm hoping David sees it that way too, because this Pokemon will be incredible on this team if used properly.
Absolutely.
The others are more fillerish, but Slow Pivot with Magneton and Togetic being able to Wish Pass is something that, is quite nice for the team. And, I believe that even David had there was a posted poll to see when the transactions of the year would happen for him.
Yep.
And I'm sure somebody got it right, but
I'm sure.
Every season, without fail, he has managed to at least overhaul, I believe, 3 Pokemon. Most of the time top tier. This time he manages to add a top tier without, or at least a mid tier without dropping anybody major. So, I'm excited to see what David can do with it. And let's finally move on to our next segment, where we'll be going over the standings of this week. So, we're going to start from the bottom this week, and here we have the Miami Palafins with Zach, 0-3, negative 13. Justin, this is a tough place to claw out of.
It is. Before you could just say, hey, everyone wins a game at some point during the season, so just hold out for that. But as Coach Alex and the Skibidi squad showed last season, it is possible to go an entire season without winning a game, and sadly,
0-8,
it does look
-30
possible.
end up at the final point. At this point last season, Alex was 0-3 with -12. So at the moment, Zach is on pace to have the worst season of all time. However, that can change with just a single win.
Absolutely.
So, that doesn't take much to completely turn your season around. And we've even seen people come back from 0-3 and win it all for that matter. David's done it twice, so not all hope is lost. But he needs to turn it around this week, I think.
Yes.
If he wants to have any sort of comfort in making it back. So, yeah, let's move on to the next part of our standings. We have a cluster of teams that are 1-2. We'll group all of these together, I think. We have the Houston Haunters, coached by Aiden. We have Field Team 6, coached by Jacob. We have Federal for Alligator, coached by Vincent. We have Dallas Steel Wings, coached by David. We have the Milwaukee Milk Tanks, coached by Josh. We have Big Step Up, coached by Roman. We have the San Francisco Arcanines, coached by Ethan. And Planet of Annihilates, coached by Hunter. Justin, what do you think of this group?
I got to tell you, I think at least one of these teams is making the playoffs this year. I think there's some talented squads in here that all they need is a couple more pieces to line up, and their season's looking very different. I think a couple of these players, made some transactions. I think some of them are still feeling out the league, feeling out their own play styles, because Coach David has been here before. He's been in this position. Currently, his only win is through a forfeit. Yeah. So he's looking obviously for his first win. But a couple of these new guys, Coach Vincent, Coach Ethan, Coach Hunter, these are hungry coaches who have not been in this position before and want to prove that they are a staple in this league. And I think that at least one of them is going to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. There's some strong contenders down here, too. We have Coach David, we have Coach Josh, both of which are classic playoff staples at this point, making either almost every other playoff or almost every other playoff. So it's a pretty packed crowd down here. I wouldn't be surprised to see one, maybe two, even three make it out. There's guaranteed to be one because we just listed off 9 teams, but I'm sure we might see a couple come out of this. And all it takes is like about 4 wins, and you can make it right back into this league. So
absolutely.
All these teams, got a good shot. I think the differential will end up mattering, especially since when you go to look at this, we have some pretty close differentials in here. We have a pretty large spread of them. It goes all the way from +0 to -8, and that's a huge jump. I think the teams that are closer to the top are going to be really enjoying that differential boost that they've gotten earlier in the season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's next look at our the top of our schedule here. We have a few teams that are 2-1. The Orlando Magikarp, coached by Chris. We have the Los Angeles Chargerbugs, coached by Justin. We have the 6 Dittos, coached by Kyler. We have the Colorado Avalugs, coached by Alex. We have Why Not Us, coached by Titus. And, I think the first thing is the storyline of Titus here, finally taking his first loss this week, last week, and, dropping out of that top position in the league.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said, the further we go in, these point differentials matter. So even though he has fallen down to 2-1, he still has a +7 differential. So those early games where he performed really well are really going to help him later on in the season.
Absolutely, especially if it comes down to differential. But, we have a bunch of teams in this thing. And what I think is one of the more interesting parts is we have multiple teams that are traditionally not towards the top of the league and even missing playoffs in the past. Making it into this group, we have the Colorado Avalugs being one of the top teams in the league. And Alex literally didn't win a game for like 12 weeks in a row. So, I mean, this is a winning streak for him. And, I'm excited to see if he can make the playoffs for once. We also have the Orlando Magikarp, who have never made the playoffs before. Actually have been, towards the bottom of the league most in the 2 seasons that they have played. But, they look like they're, a strong contender this season and potentially even towards the top of the league. So, and we have some new coaches as well. We have yourself, the LA Chargebugs, being one of the top 5 teams in the league, and at the moment. So, I'm excited to see a new playoff picture. Hopefully by the end of the
Absolutely.
at the end of the season. However,
Absolutely.
at the top of the ranks, we do have some familiar faces. 2 undefeated teams remain this after week 3, and that's the Phoenix Ferrets with 3-0 plus 13, and the Driftville Rangers, coached by Caden, 3-0 plus 12, which I believe will transition us just fine into our our schedule for next week.
Yep.
Where we are expecting Vincent versus David, Ethan versus Chris, Josh versus Roman, Zach versus Alex, myself versus Caden, Justin versus Jacob, Aiden versus Hunter, and Kyler versus Titus. And I think we all know what you're going to suggest as our game to look out for here, Justin.
The game that everyone's staring at is obviously the Driftville Rangers going into Phoenix to play the Ferrets, coached by yourself. Coach Caden, and Coach Ian, you guys are both just powerhouse staples in this league. Everyone has to admit it. You constantly have performed well in the regular season. One of you has performed pretty well in the playoffs. The other one can't seem to quite get it done. Seems to, light shine a little bit too bright. Whenever the pressure gets really on, just crumbles to dust. But this week is where we see where we see the men get separated from the boys. Both 3-0, both basically the same differential, plus 13, plus 12, but could not be two different, not only led organizations but composed teams. Very different play styles between these Mons. The 6 that we're going to see on each team, I think, are going to be cut from the same cloth, if you will. Both going to be looking to prove that they are the team to beat. And that's what this is all about. Some people could point to, the Driftville Rangers sort of cupcake schedule. It hasn't been super easy. It's been like a bakery in there. I think the Mon to look out for is going to be Chien Pao. We've been talking about him. Great game last week, and I think this is going to be his legacy-defining game as he goes in and plays this very, very formidable opponent.
Absolutely. I'm hoping to see Chien Pao absolutely pop off, but it's not the Mon that I think is the most important in this matchup on either side. I think the Mon that is going to dictate the pace of this game is absolutely going to be Iron Treads. So, this thing absolutely is a menace into both teams, or is incredibly important to Caden, and for myself, I'm definitely having to watch out for it, as it can do super effective damage to every Pokemon that I have, except for Annihilate, and, it's a big deal for me to watch out for, and I got a plan, but, it's gonna be a tough one for me. And
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to this match, and hoping that your Phoenix Ferrets will remain on top of the standings.
I guess we'll have to see
this week. So, however, Justin, we have another match that I think is incredibly interesting this week.
Yes.
That being Roman versus Josh.
Yeah. This game has a just incredible playoff implications attached to it.
Absolutely, Justin. We're seeing 2 teams that are now 1-2. So 2 teams that are sort of, grasping at the edge of making it in versus, getting taken out of the playoffs. And, the winner here is going to have a much easier time making it in. The loser is not out, don't get me wrong, but they are down deep into the hole in the rest of the season and will have to probably win every other game they play in order to have a guaranteed spot.
I think, you hate 3 games in to already be talking about playoff implication, but that's just the fact of the matter here. Both these teams, extremely talented as far as their roster goes. You know, they play hard. Both have had pretty impressive wins, both occurring in the second week, where we all thought, hey, maybe this is a page turner. You know, maybe we're going to see a different team going forward. But as it turns out, both took a step back in week 3. Disappointing to both coaches, I know. And yeah, I mean, losing this game for either team means your margin for error has pretty much. So here's to see how this one ends.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes, and a lot to look forward to for this match. All right, I believe that's all we have for this week. I know it ran a little long, but there's a lot to go over with all these transactions. So this is that's all we got for the weekly recap. We will see you here next week, and hope to see a lot of interesting playoff implications soon, as we will be hitting the halfway point of the league and the last week of the trade deadline for next week as well. So, we got a lot of interesting moves coming up.
Absolutely, it's going to be truly a league-defining week, and I'm just excited, not only as a media member in this sport, but as a fan. I'm excited to watch it.
Absolutely. And we'll see you all next week, and good luck in your games.
Absolutely. Goodbye.